love you. You know that, right?
Like more than anything.
Yeah. I really didn't think I didn't think I'd have to tell. So let's see, I'll make this up as I go along. No, I'm breaking rules. No, all right. So my story is called 16, and I pray that I never have a 16-year-old daughter. I have no children at this point, so far so good. And this involves a pinto and a tree, so that's very odd. Yeah. So I was telling somebody the other day that I've always dated really nice guys. And then something happened on Facebook, which happens daily in my world. And I made a comment about this ex-boyfriend commented on something I said on Facebook. And a friend started asking me about that particular comment. And so I started telling this story. And she's like, I thought you always dated really nice guys. And I'm like, I guess there's always one. So I grew up in the South Dakota. Not really the same. And I wasn't allowed to date until I was 16. And if there's one thing I'm fearful of then and now, it's my father. But I turned 16, and I brought home this 20-year-old gentleman. And looking back, I'm thinking, I'm sure how that occurred and how they tolerated it, but they did. And he lived about an hour away, and one evening he picked me up, and I had an 11 o'clock curfew until I left for college. And so he picked me up, and he was driving with my second cousin, and in the town of Webster, you couldn't, swing a dead cat without hitting a Gaikowski, so there was a lot of second cousins. Did you guys get that? So that's awesome. Swing a dead cat. And so I still remember the truck they were driving was like this tan 1980-ish Chevy truck, single cab, and there must have been a third person, although I don't recall who it was, because I had to sit on my boyfriend's lap. And so there must have been, right? Because you don't just do that accidentally, when you're 16. And so we were going to go from my town to his town of Watertown. And I'm not really sure why we were going there, because I only had a few hours that I could be out. And we were driving along, and I had this jacket that I love, and to this day I wonder where it is, but it was this leather suede jacket, actually, with fringe. It was so hot, so hot. And I loved this coat. And I'm sitting on his lap, and Jed is driving, and we're in the middle, and then someone's here who I don't recall. It's amazing that I recall this story, because I can't remember what I had for lunch. And all of a sudden, we're driving along, and they've been drinking, because that's what you do in Webster, South Dakota, when you're bored or just all the time. And so all of a sudden we're driving along, we're on the highway, so it's a 2-lane highway, and a couple of deer cross the road. And the one starts to go right down the road. Usually this come across. This one comes across and decides to just run straight down the road. And Jed decides, let's get the deer. And I am horrified. The deer is going down the road, and they run it down. They purposely run it down. And I was physically ill. But more than just the feeling of what was happening, not only did my head hit the windshield, because I'm sitting on his lap, and I won't say his name because he's on Facebook, darn it, sitting on his lap, and I hit the windshield, and they hit the deer, but the truck's been going for a while, and we've been speeding, and so it's real nice and hot, and this smell that occurs when that blood hit the engine sat in every pore of my skin for weeks and in that leather jacket, and I could not wear that coat ever again. So I am furious, and we get to Watertown, and the truck starts to overheat because we've hit this deer, and we have to abandon the truck. And so we are an hour away from home, and we only have an hour and a half left, and I have to be home before 11 o'clock. So before cell phones, because this is 1990-ish, wowzers. And so there's nobody has a cell phone to call. So we go walking, and there is this reddish Pinto. And so we steal it. Not we, they steal it. And they've been drinking more. And seriously, I didn't drink back then. That's shocking, I realize at this point, considering the coffee cup I walked in with. It's a coffee cup, Kelly Meyer. So we steal this car, and they continue to get drunk, and at one point I start to get mad to talk about the deer, and now we've stolen this car, and all I care about is getting home, because if there's one thing you don't do in my house, it's break curfew. And so we steal this car, and he gets mad as I'm yelling at him. So he decides he'll show me, and he runs it into a tree. And the car starts on fire. And so we get out and abandon the car as the car continues to burn. And I am scared beyond belief, not because of the truck we wrecked, not because of the alcohol, not because of the car that's on fire, because I am 60 minutes away from home, and I have 45 minutes to get there. And so we walk to his uncle's house, because there's no cell phones, and he has one nice friend. And I call from his uncle's phone and call his one nice friend that lives in that town. And that one nice friend somehow gets me back to Webster, South Dakota in the next 45 minutes. And it's the only time I've ever broke curfew, and the only time my father has not woken up, and one of the reasons that I hope I never have a 16-year-old daughter. So, thank you.